But Dr. Heinzen, do you think anyone's listening? I just had an email literally seconds ago from a friend who tried to tell a coworker just what you said about some of the things lining up, and she kept it simple. She didn't make it real scary. I mean, sometimes reality is scary. And this coworker took off down the hall because she couldn't handle it. So do you think folks are listening, paying attention, and taking it seriously?
Well, I think the fact that she took off and ran down the hall indicates that she took something seriously. It may not have been what she wanted to hear. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to hear, God will bless America, we'll be fine, everything will be okay. The promise of those blessings is, first of all, only for the real born-again believer. When the Lord comes to call the believers home to heaven, there's no guarantee left for any nation on earth to be exempt from the wrath of God. But the saddest verses to me in the book of Revelation, several times it will say after judgment, as an expression of God's wrath on the unbelieving world, it'll say, and they did not repent. And they did not repent. While there may be some who will come to faith during that time, vast majority will not. There is a tendency for the unbelieving heart to harden itself against God and to resist the warning that God is sending, and yet we see in the Old Testament prophets they continue to express the warning again and again, whether it was popularly received or not.
If you've just joined me, you're listening to Understanding the Times Radio. I'm Jan Markell, and I have online from Virginia Dr. Ed Heinzen, one of my guests, Saturday, October 4th, Understanding the Times, Fall 2014, along with Pastor Jack Hibbs, Pastor Steve Curry, yours truly, coming out and meet the entire team from Olive Tree Ministries, Saturday, 9 to 5, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., buy a lunch ticket as soon as you come in the door for $8. Dr. Heinzen, I want to go down a little pathway here and spend a little extra time with you on this particular topic, and we're going to go back to some signs of the times and just a little bit later. What I want to do is ask you, what should we make of Islam in the last days? We see chaos, particularly in the Middle East. We know that Islam is going to meet a dismal fate on the mountains of Israel, thanks to the Gog-Magog war, Ezekiel 38:39. You already referenced that. That war is not going to wipe out over 1 billion Muslims. We are all troubled by the power they are getting, particularly this brutal band of terrorists known as ISIS and their co-laborers Al-Qaeda. And ISIS has a couple $1 billion to spread their evil and carnage. How do you see Islam playing out in the last days?
Well, I think the Islamic world has several challenges that it's facing. First of all, the modernization of today's world is certainly a challenge to their 7th century religious beliefs. I mean, Islam is, in a sense, a form of medieval barbarism in which they believe that they have the right to spread their religion by force, even if it means cutting off heads and chopping off hands and dealing with people in the most severe, barbarous ways imaginable. But then when they're bombarded with the Internet and they're bombarded with the Western world and the unbelieving world, even the influence of secularism, let alone legitimate Christianity, they're not sure how to handle that. So they retreat out of their insecurity of their own belief to a point of violence, almost reacting senselessly, thinking we will violently protect the message of the prophet and spread our religion. I don't see that changing dramatically in the near future. I do believe that there are millions of Muslim people who are reasonable people who do not want to see the world plunged into chaos and war, but unfortunately there are hundreds of thousands who do, and who really think that's the religious answer to the world's problems, and that a kind of Muslim Messiah, the Mahdi or whoever, will come to their rescue in the end. This attitude of wanting a global caliphate, which is a religious Islamic state with Sharia law, it's all over the websites. It's all over the Internet. This is not just a few strange people here and there that have this idea. This is a widespread idea in much of the Islamic world, and you're seeing it played out with ISIS, wanting to bring in an Islamic state of Iraq and Syria, but they also want to conquer the Kurds in northern Iraq, in Turkey. They recently threatened the border of Lebanon. This movement would love to literally take over the entire Middle East. And the challenge for the United States or for any other country is, how much do you let people of the Middle East deal with their own problems, and how much do we from the outside need to intervene, because it won't be contained in the Middle East. It will continue to spread.